Hello everyone, I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, here to talk about Friday Night SmackDown. My usual co-host Robert D. Fleece was unable to join me. He has some other obligations tonight, but onward we go. Here, always pressing on as best we can. I do want to give a quick shout out to my co-host on my Raw and NXT shows, John Clark. He is out with appendicitis. He was feeling under the weather earlier this week, and he had surgery for that, so he'll also be sidelined. It looks like for next week as well. So definitely best wishes to John. Hope he's doing all right. I had surgery, I think that was Wednesday or so. He's currently recovering from that. But as I said, we'll keep moving on. And again, shout out to John. Hope he's doing all right. Surgery is never fun. So hopefully he's taking it easy and hopefully he'll be back on his feet, feeling better ASAP. Beyond and Nesh asking if I'm Melodian. Yes, Robert's out tonight, and John is currently recovering from appendix surgery. So we are here to talk about SmackDown. Not a joyful day by any means. It was probably about 3 p.m. that another round of releases hit the fan, I guess, for lack of a better word. Not a fun day at all. DJ asking right off the bat my thoughts on the releases. I wanted to talk about those right off the bat because that is definitely the talk of the town, I guess, for lack of a better word. I mean, 10 people got released. That sucks to say the least. I do have the list pulled up right now, and I want to mention them all. Some of them obviously more noteworthy than others, only because they're on TV. Some of them didn't even get the chance to be on TV yet. So the list of people released today by WWE on April 29th: Dakota Kai, Malcolm Bivens, Dexter Lumis, Harland, Persia Parada, Sanjana George, Draco Anthony, Mila Milani, Raylan Devine, and Paige Prinzilvali. I'm very sorry if I butchered those. And some of them had their names changed when they signed WWE, but those were the names kind of, that were reported on that one. This one, I'll admit, hit me very hard. If I'm okay after it, because at least among other reasons here, DJ saying no more Index. So if you watched the NXT show, you know very well that I am a big fan of the Index couple, Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell. I love that storyline so much. I enjoyed it very, very much. And even in the past couple months when Dexter hasn't been on TV as much, he's always been like someone that I just really enjoy watching. I think he's very, very talented. And I just had very, very high hopes for him. And you could tell that, something changed, that NXT management changed, that, he wasn't seen the same way as maybe Triple H had seen him and had wanted to utilize him by the new regime, if you will, or at least the new philosophy. And I think that's very disappointing. It's disappointing across the board. 10 people losing their jobs is very unfortunate in any circumstance. Again, and there was a report that went up later from Fightful Select that it was budget cuts. And we've talked about it before. Like every round of releases, it's frustrating when you think about it's this $1 billion company, whatever the number is, this big company. Record profits last year, a year when they released dozens on dozens of people. I don't want to, rant on it too much. It's very unfortunate in every way. Dakota Kai, another one, very unfortunate. Jason saying he's going to miss Dakota. Dakota had a great run. Well, I can't even say great run. She was one of the very, most renowned, respected, well liked in terms of people always saying good things about her, fans, and people in interviews. She seemed just universally well liked in that regard, and she never really had a chance, as a top player in NXT, as she never got a singles title run. She was a 2-time women's tag team champion with Raquel Gonzalez. We saw her on SmackDown tonight, not Dakota, but Raquel. They won the inaugural Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, so definitely she will go down in history in that sense. But again, very, very unfortunate. Nesha, I know you're a big fan of Index as well. It's heartbreaking. Literally, if you think about it in storyline, a married couple and they're broken up like this, it's really, really sad. DJ says that Dakota needed to be called up. I know she had some dark matches. She may have had some matches on main event as well. I'm not positive on that. I remember she had some dark matches though. So they at least are kind of looking her way a little bit. And for whatever reason, it just never went anywhere. And again, that's very, very unfortunate. Several of these people never even got to debut on TV, so I really can't say much about them, really at all. And other than this, the general fact that it's very unfortunate that this has happened. Jake Anthony was on TV a little bit. He got a couple of shots on NXT and a level up here and there, but again, someone that didn't really get a chance to do all that much. Fightful also reported later some of the reasoning, beyond the reasoning, some of the more dynamics here. Apparently, Malcolm Bivens made it clear he didn't want to resign. I'm reading it now. I guess he resigned last year. And he wasn't planning on resigning then. But then he liked the Diamond Mine ideas. They stayed around. He was offered a new deal reportedly, but did not resign it. And the Dakota apparently was not planning on resigning her deal. So. In that case, that lessens the blow, I guess, but it's still unfortunate either way. These are just most of them wanted out, and if that's true, that's fair. I guess that's that's part of the equation as well. If this happens, I hate to say the next round, so coolly, but if this happens on the main roster. Someone like Mustafa Ali might be on that list if, some people that want out. Again, I don't want to speculate on that. But again, at the end of the day, these are people that lost their jobs. It's easy to look at it like, oh, they're this performer or however you kind of want to look at it. But really, it's a person, right? And for the people that didn't even get to be on TV, again, we didn't even get to really know them. And they never got to really show what they got to do. And that just says Dynamite is gone now. I mean, for now, they still have Roderick Strong, Ivy Nile, and the Creed brothers. But I really do think that Malcolm Bivens was Diamond Mine in a lot of ways. I mean, he was like the mouthpiece in that sense. So I don't know how much I really see the group doing kind of without him, and that sucks as well. It's just unfortunate. Again, in every way. I don't want to just keep hammering that point, but I didn't want to skate over it. It's a thing that happened because it's very unfortunate. And Steven says NXT can be very different to watch for sure. I mean, they have Spring Break-In on Tuesday, like a TV special. This definitely kind of sours the mood in some ways. Some of these people, not that they were in featured storylines, but Index was a part of the show, and then they're just gone. And that's what we've seen happen over and over again. Nesh just says, let's talk about SmackDown. Indeed, let's move on. That's unfortunate. I'm very confident someone like Dakota, Dexter Lewis, formerly known as Samuel Shaw, and Impact. I imagine they're going to land on their feet. I imagine all these people will be just fine in some way, shape, or form. Again, I'm a big fan of Dexter, so I hope he winds up somewhere where he gets to kind of showcase his abilities. Same with Dakota and all of them, really. So, best wishes to all these people. But yes, we had SmackDown tonight. We didn't get to do it last week. Last week I wound up because I just had there was scheduling change. I wound up doing play-by-play as well, and by that point I was just fried, and I wasn't feeling the show to begin with, and I feel like it wasn't fair to you guys to do a show when I really wasn't feeling it. I usually try to push through like that, but as we are tonight. But yeah, David saying SmackDown sucked tonight. Nothing to report. I mean, there were things to report. There's more often than not, there's always something to talk about. And things to talk about. The show opened with a steel cage match: Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. Now, usually, I'm not the biggest fan of steel cage matches because a lot of times it feels like they're done for no reason. And I will say, at least for this one, it was done for a reason. Sami Zayn has literally run away from his matches with McIntyre. And the steel cage made it much harder, if not impossible, at least much harder to run away. So if the match makes sense in the first place, I'm happy for that reason. So that's a win in my book. Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn, both very talented. I'm glad they got this match got some time. I'm glad they let Sami look competitive. I mean, I feel like Drew McIntyre, a lot of times he was booked like, Hulk Hogan level, super babyface, not maybe not like Hulk Hogan level. But sometimes I see that comparison. There was one week where he fought off Jinder and Shanky and Happy Corbin, where they beat him down 4-on-1. He just overpowered them all. So sometimes I think they kind of get a little out of hand with that. So I was glad that this match was actually competitive. The Sami looked pretty good in this match. And yes, it's not a surprise that Drew won. That's what Steven points out here. You could have predicted this one. We got Nesha saying that she was surprised Sami didn't find a way to run away here. I mean, There's one spot later in the match where he climbed out and it looked like he would almost got there. Like I think he attacked Drew's knee or his leg at one point, and like Drew was a little slower to stop him. So they had a good kind of convincing equivalent of a near fall there. So I like that. Overall, I thought it was pretty good, pretty standard fare for a cage match. Again, at least it just made sense in terms of storytelling. The same was trying to escape, and this literally prevented him from doing so. And I guess this was a natural segue. So this opened the show. Then we had to wait around. Probably, I think it was maybe like pretty late in the first hour, early second hour. We had the second week in a row, we had a contract signing. This time it was RK Bro and the Usos for their previously announced tag team unification match, tag team title unification match for WrestleMania Backlash. That is a week from Sunday. Now they've been building this up for several weeks now. RK Bro and the Usos, they've been feuding, they've been setting it up. They've been really hyping up this match. They're like, oh, cool, they're going to unify tag titles. On this show, on the Raw show, we've pretty much been having a consensus that, hey, this is probably the right thing to do. There aren't enough tag teams to have 2 tag team titles, because otherwise, you have. I mean, we'll talk about the women's tag team division in a minute, but overall, really, it feels like this has been the case for a while. You don't have enough tag teams to sustain it for 2 brands. So I've been in favor of unifying them. So we had this the contract signing. They start brawling, nothing much to it at first. Then Roman Reigns comes out, the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. I may have flipped around the order there. But regardless, the Unified World Champion, Roman Reigns. And he distracted RK Bro. Usos beat up RK Bro. Roman rips up the contract for the title unification match. So then I thought, like, oh, is the match not going to happen? Like, what's going on here? Then Drew McIntyre comes out, brawls to Roman Reigns, and sends the bloodline running. And then I think it was after a commercial or something, Paul Heyman pitched Adam Pearce the idea of the bloodline versus Drew McIntyre and RK Bro for WrestleMania Backlash. Adam Pearce very logically said, no, I can't do that. I have this advertised, scheduled tag team title unification match that's a much bigger deal. That's, more consequential, a little more meaningful. And Paul Heyman said, oh, no, you can't deprive the people of having the bloodline versus RK Bro Drew McIntyre. If you don't do this match, I will file a complaint. Lo and behold, we got the 6-man match. And on the graphic, it just said 6-man match. It is fairly evident that this will not be a title unification match. For a split second, I thought they would do like a winner-take-all kind of thing, which would be really, really weird, admittedly. But for a second, I thought that's where they were going. Where that way the bloodline would take all the gold. Not that would make sense, like, anyway. Just like kind of had that thought, like that's what they might do. But no, just a 6-man tag match here. Seemingly, this will. Maybe they're just kind of kicking the can down the road. They'll do the tag title unification, whatever comes next. Hell in a Cell in June, so maybe that's gonna. And if they do that, that's drawing this out even more. And these teams have already been feuding for, really since the shows after WrestleMania. So that would be another month of this. DJ says the pay-per-view is going to suck now. We got 2 title matches eliminated from the card. We didn't know what Drew McIntyre was going to be doing. So, and they hadn't really built anything up for him. And even adding Drew to this, it feels very kind of like thrown together. So maybe kind of a -1 for that one. I don't know if I'd go out on them and say pay-per-view is going to suck now. They have lost a match that's again that was consequential and meaningful that I was looking forward to. I think many people were looking forward to because they had advertised that. So I do get being upset about that. And as we're getting Drew versus Roman, I feel like that's kind of spitting out of this. Maybe for Hell in a Cell, that's in June and in Chicago, as DJ points out. So he can't wait for that one. I'm curious about that one because we do know they announced today the name of the United Kingdom Stadium show, Clash at the Castle. Excuse me. That will be in September, which is even more a ways away here. And it feels very easy to say, oh, we do the title match to Drew McIntyre there, even if he loses, like that sells itself. Like UK, Drew McIntyre, like makes sense. Potentially do Drew versus Roman. Let's say that they do it at Hell in a Cell. Presumably they get a rematch out of it at Money in the Bank. I don't see, they wouldn't do that then at SummerSlam. I would hope not. to do a third match there, let alone at the stadium show, Clash at the Castle, in September. So I don't know about that. I don't know about exactly how that's going to go. Obviously, you do have the potential of doing Roman versus Cody at SummerSlam. That feels like a very possible thing here. We're still several months away at this point, but I feel like that's a pretty big money thing they could do for SummerSlam. This will be a good match. It's always like the problem is not that it's going to be or not be a good match. It's going to be a good match. All 6 guys are great. I'm just curious, maybe even concerned about kind of the ramifications and the path moving forward here. Again, if they are delaying this unification match, again, would that be Hell in a Cell? Well, they've already gone to the well of doing the singles matches for the tag teams for the Usos RK Bro. I don't really know how much they can really draw it out that much more. I don't know. Nasser doesn't like the name Clash at the Castle. I mean, it's fine. I didn't like the graphic. The graphic looks kind of rough, in my opinion, for a company that has the money to make supposedly the best graphics in the business. Again, millions and millions and millions of dollars. I didn't think the graphic looks that good. Clash at the Castle, it's fine. It's like it's like I don't know what else I was expecting. Castles are cool. I don't know. But that's still a ways away. So that we got that 6-man to look forward to. Show up with Sami and Drew McIntyre there. Another thing we had tonight was the I Quit challenge, and that we had to wait till the very end of the show for that one. So we'll save that for later. We had Happy Talk with Happy Corbin. This was the first time he was really doing the show solo without Madcap Moss. And he said that he made Madcap Moss. He'll break Madcap Moss. I believe they confirmed a match between the two for WrestleMania Backlash. Corbin stole the Andre the Giant trophy last week, and he said tonight that he wanted to destroy it because it was what Madcap loves more than anything. So he has this crew guy bring out the statue, and he gets ready to destroy it. The crew guy reveals himself as wearing a jumpsuit and a hat or something. He reveals himself to be Madcap Moss, and he gets a sledgehammer, and he goes to attack Happy Corbin. And I was like, Madcap, only Triple H can use a sledgehammer. Like that has to be canon, okay? Like Triple H is the one guy that can use sledgehammer. Nobody else. At least in WWE. Like, you want to do it elsewhere, fine. But like, come on. The sledgehammer was Triple H's thing for so long. Seeing anyone else do was pretty silly. Madcap got the better of the exchange, sent Corbin running. Pretty standard fair stuff. It really felt like tonight they were piping in a lot of fake crowd chants. So I really couldn't tell all that much how many cheers Madcap Moss was getting. The fake cheers sounded realistic. I don't know. I saw some tweets saying like, "Oh, they're really gonna make Madcap Moss work as a babyface." I don't know. Anyone will get cheered in theory beating up Happy Corbin at this point. I'm not worried about that. Again, but if you think about like the long term play here, I don't really see Madcap Moss headlining WrestleMania. That's just the name. Like if it goes back to being Riddick Moss or something, I don't know. Like Madcap Moss is a silly name. Steven says he needs new gear. I mean, he's still wearing like the suspenders and stuff. Maybe he'll debut new gear at WrestleMania Backlash. Steven says he thinks Moss should beat Corbin. I mean, yeah, I feel like that's kind of the point of all this. Corbin's a made man. He can lose as many times as needed and be fine. Like he's got the ability to draw enough heat and whatever. It's fine. Like people will boo him anyway. Whereas Moss, you're still kind of establishing him. He won the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. This would be a really good chance to really solidify him as a singles guy. And I hope that happens. This one too, I don't really want to see more of it after WrestleMania Backlash, like other than like maybe a rematch on SmackDown after that. There's not much more I can really see them doing with this. Other than again, Steven saying hopefully they change the name. Yeah, maybe they do that or something. It's fine. They've got another week to kind of add a little more intrigue to this. I don't know what else there's to really do at this point. But DJ says that Madcap will beat Corbin at the show for sure. I mean, yeah, I think at least to me, I think it's a safe bet unless Corbin cheats and they want to draw it out, which I can see them doing too. But now she has a friend that's been screaming Madcap Moss is a new favorite. Wow. I mean, he's got a great look. He's fine in the ring. I don't have a problem with him in the ring. I didn't love his like bad stand-up gimmick thing that he had going. Now that he's a babyface, like we still haven't really seen what he can do, like who he is. Like I don't know what he's really doing, what he will be doing as a character kind of moving forward. Again, if they change the name, if they really kind of move him apart, move him away from that, I might feel differently. But again, this is like he's got that, to me, that stink of like the Madcap Moss thing. Like I was so down on the gimmick for so long that now I still have that association. So again, I hope they change the name, kind of tweak his gimmick, and just kind of not repackage him. They could be the same person, but like, you know, I don't know, give him a fresh coat of paint or something somehow. I mean, hey, they've been literally randomly renaming people on NXT left and right. So I'm sure one week you might just show up with a whole new name for no reason and be totally fine. But yeah, I do feel pretty safe in the idea that Moss won at WrestleMania Backlash. I think he should. And I'm not all that interested in seeing the feud really continue. Granted, like I can't even say it's been going on that long. They broke up right after WrestleMania, you know, so it's only been a couple of weeks. So again, in WWE land, I can easily see them prolonging it, but we'll definitely see on that. What DJ is asking, what do we think about Shanky and Jinder splitting up? And he says, don't hinder the Jinder Shanky. So I guess he's telling Shanky not to hinder the Jinder. Shanky challenged for the IC title tonight. He faced Ricochet. Jinder Mahal challenged for the title. I think that was 2 weeks ago when Ricochet beat him. Then last week, Ricochet said he'll fight anybody, and Shanky got the call here. They really haven't built up Shanky at all, and that was my complaint with this one. Like, yeah, he's a big dude, and he's believable in terms of like he's got that going for him. The size difference tonight is like Pat McAfee himself said, "Oh, it's like David and Goliath, big dude, smaller guy, like." Sells itself, like that's fine. I didn't think the match was all that good, and I would say that's mostly because we really have. I don't know about live events. I would hope Shank is working some live events, but like we haven't really seen him work like TV all that much. I remember like last summer when Jinder and Drew were feuding on Raw, he had some handicap matches and like he faced Drew here and there. But otherwise, like we really haven't seen all that much of him in matches. So, you know, there was no reason to think he was going to be Ricochet tonight, and that's fine. Like that's fine. But I don't know. When you have a match, and to me, like especially a title match, like I want at least some, even if I don't think the title's going to change, like at least give the challenger momentum and like give something going for him, right? But like Shanky's just been like Jinder's like enforcer. He lost, like it was more competitive than I thought. Shanky was dominating, and Ricochet kind of like stacked him up, not quite a roll up, but like essentially, you know, got quote unquote got lucky, essentially got a surprise pin and escaped. And then Jinder was upset. He was berating Shanky, and then Shanky said no and just walked away. So I don't know if they're like breaking up necessarily. That seems to be what they're going for. But it's not like he said I'm done with you. Maybe they'll be like they'll be something like that on Talking Smack or something. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess my mindset with this is like I don't necessarily see them going with this. It's not like Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin. They weren't pushing Shanky all the time, kind of as his own thing. And then I don't see them like kind of rolling with him as a singles guy. This feels like they just want to break him up. I don't really know what's going to happen next. Steven says Jinder deserves better. Yeah, Jinder Mahal is a former WWE champion, a very talented man and performer in his own right. So, you know, I think he deserves better than this, than what he's been getting. He would go like weeks without being on TV at all. I think that's a shame. I think there's definitely better uses for him. Maybe this will be a feud, maybe not. DJ wonders if they'll have enough time to build a pre-show match. Maybe. This sounds really bad, but like I say that question and I'm like, my reaction is like, is there enough interest in that? And I put that question out to you all. Like, would you want to see a singles match between Shanky and Jinder on the pre-show or the kickoff show for WrestleMania Backlash? I mean, usually the kickoff shows, like, they have something kind of worthwhile. Not always. Sometimes it'll be a random match. sometimes, but they'll usually be like something. I mean, there've been times like Rey Mysterio is on the pre-show, or they've had the New Day on the pre-show. Like that's, I'm not trying to sound bad, but like based on how they're booked, not the talent, based on how they're booked. That would feels borderline for even the pre-show on WrestleMania Backlash, especially because the angle tonight they've got next week. That's really not a lot of time. Could they do it? Yeah, they could do anything. They could do anything they want. Should they? Not necessarily. Nesha says, sure, give us I hope they give us a match. Pre-show matches are cool. Usually, like I watch the pre-show, and then usually, if there's not a match, I'm left a little upset because like then I'm watching the same video packages over and over and over again. Usually, if they don't announce a match, I usually will watch like maybe like the last hour. But like if they or usually it's only an hour. So if they don't announce a match, usually I'll watch only like the last half hour. For the rest of the show, I think I watched, especially on Sunday, I watched like all of it, and there wasn't a match at all. And I was just like, dude, like, oh my gosh, just like the matches are a good way to make the pre-shows feel a little more substantial, because otherwise it is just all fluff of video packages, some interviews if you're lucky. Benjamin Jones points out that the WrestleMania Backlash is on Mother's Day. Yes, it's on Mother's Day this year. So hug your mom, go out to brunch, and then come back. And thankfully, it's later in the day, so in theory, you should be able to watch the show and have a good time with your moms if you celebrate. As I hope you would. I don't even know what to say about that. But my fiance points out like a bunch of the superstars are mothers, so that is kind of like at least odd. You know, it's a choice that like you're gonna have some of these people, some of these women, I should say, working on Mother's Day. You know, Becky Lynch is on. She's a mother. Ronda Rousey is a mother. Lacey Evans had another vignette tonight. She's a mother, obviously. You have a bunch of people, probably more than I'm even naming right now. So that is, not the best. When these people probably would rather be home in some ways, maybe. Watching. Nesha, obviously you're a mom. You say you're gonna be watching. There you go. You can celebrate Mother's Day by watching WrestleMania Backlash. There you go, folks. See, I sold the show for him. But yeah, I do think that's kind of interesting. Usually, I feel like they do a fairly good job of avoiding like holidays for shows like this. If they want to do like a show, they could have done the show on Saturday. In theory, I don't know why they didn't. They've done a bunch of shows, and they will be doing a bunch of shows this year on Saturdays. So I don't necessarily know why they chose not to do that. But I'll be working. I'll be covering it on Mother's Day. So again, shout out to all the moms. They did the good idea. It's on Mother's Day, so they should give free tickets to all the women in the audience. I think that's a good idea. Do I think they're going to do it? No, but I do like the idea there. So again, I don't necessarily know if that match is worthwhile enough for the pre-show. And you could just do it on the SmackDown after. That's Steven saying, just do it on SmackDown after. They needed somewhat substantial stuff for SmackDown, and again, at least then you'd have a little more time to build it up, and maybe then it'll be a little more interesting. But elsewhere tonight on SmackDown, Butch is missing. Butch, the artist formerly known as Pete Dunne, he is missing. He went missing. Was it 2 weeks ago now? He just ran off into the night. Has not been seen since. They were looking for him last week, I believe. I'm not positive on that one. I feel like it was 2 weeks ago. And then tonight, Sheamus and Ridge Holland were still looking for him. They both put up posters, and they did it in the same places. So a little redundant on the approach there. Hardy har wanted to play that for comedy, I guess. And then they have this like vignette kind of thing where they're showing Pete Dunne, Butch, excuse me, in front of like Photoshop pictures. Like they photoshopped him in front of Coachella, I think in front of Big Ben, because they're overseas this week, and they're like, where in the world is Big Ben? So apparently Butch is now Carmen San Diego. If you remember that's a reference from like way back in the 90s, like a cartoon. Everyone's like it's funny in the fact that it's just like weird. Like it's not funny to me. It's just like, what are we doing here? Like why? So we got a hashtag where's Butch on WWE.com. And that's just she was laughing at it. Like, yeah, it's just like it's funny, like just weird and like kind of odd more than anything. My concern, okay, this could go one of three ways. Butch comes back, and all is well in the world in terms of his trinity with Sheamus and Ridge Holland. So that's that's my door number one. Door number two, this is a somewhat clever way of repackaging Butch. Maybe they do bring Pete Dunne back. I would be pretty happy about that. I don't know if they would do that. That would probably not seem to be a realistic option because they've been renaming everybody at this point. Necessarily could return as someone else, not Pete Dunne or Butch, but someone else. Hey, make it like Moon Knight. Maybe he has multiple personalities. Maybe he'll just bring out his inner. Well, he's already from the United Kingdom. Maybe he'll come out with someone with an American accent if you're watching Moon Knight over the MCU. People get that reference, but I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting. Or option three. I kind of worry about this tonight. So we got the vignette of like where's Butch, and they're going through like the photoshopped images and stuff. Where's Butch? Nobody knows. They're looking for him. Hasn't been seen since. And like again, it sounds bad, but especially today, I was like, what if like he gets released and then he's just gone, and then it's literally like Butch is missing, and it's a cold case, and he's never seen again, and that's it. And like again, that sounds bad, but in a company where people get released all the time, like it feels possible. I mean, for a while, Elias was proclaimed dead over on Raw. He was missing for months, and now Ezekiel has shown up. So thankfully, at least Elias's brother, air quotes, is back. But for a while, it seemed like Elias was proclaimed dead, and he might be released after that at some point. So then he would literally, in canon, be quote unquote dead, which is worse than missing. Like that would have been like one of the, and that'd be an all-time story that just in terms of odd timeline there. And that's just like she hopes not. Yeah, I hope Pete Dunne comes back. If it's Butch, if it's Pete Dunne, I hope he comes back, whatever it might be. He's very, very talented. He's great in the ring. The Butch gimmick is not working for me. I don't really love how they've turned him into Scrappy-Doo. If you've noticed, every single time Michael Cole first references on commentary and they talk about what he's been doing, Michael Cole says the phrase, it's something on the lines of like he had a temper tantrum, like a petulant, stubborn child or something like that. And like in my mind, like that's got to be a Vince McMahon line, like where he must be feeding that if that's what he wants the gimmick to be, or at least that's the idea. That's again kind of like Madcap Moss, but almost even worse. Like that's not going to work. You're literally going to present someone as a grown ass man as a petulant child. Like that's where we're at, and it is an absolute shame. Pete Dunne, for all you who have watched NXT, Black and Gold, or the first couple months of the 2.0 era, great matches every single time. He could have great matches with anybody. Thought he was fine, like a perfectly fine character as Pete Dunne on his own. The Bruiserweight was a badass. Like, did not need to be Butch. Again, if this is a philosophical thing or the approach that they're going for in terms of changing the names, the trademarks, we talked about this on the NXT show this week. I understand that logically, but I'm saying just like as a fan on the more creative side of things, I don't think it's for the best. I mean, hopefully this is going somewhere that he's missing and he's found. And we can all rejoice. And that's just as Pete Dunne was awesome, especially on NXT UK. Yeah, Pete Dunne's awesome. Pete Dunne is awesome. Herman says move Pete Dunne to Raw because he's doing great on Raw. Maybe, especially, if they do, like a superstar shakeup at some point soon. I mean, they had the draft back in October. They had like kind of a mini shakeup a bit with some of these call-ups throughout that have had like it was kind of staggers out this month. And Butch was right before WrestleMania as well. So, yeah, again, kind of like we say about Madcap Moss, give him a fresh coat of paint and maybe get away from the whole Butch thing. I like this idea from, and that's just let him be found on Raw. Maybe he just like randomly shows up backstage on Raw someday. He's like hiding in a storage crate or something. I don't know. Do something fun with it. Have him be found on Raw. I like the idea. I like the idea of having him on SmackDown, just not in this Butch thing. And if that's the way they like start over with him or retool him a little bit, I like the idea. I like the idea on paper of this. DJ says they could do Butch versus Ridge Holland versus Sheamus at Backlash. Let's see it. I mean, tonight, perfect segue, DJ. Thank you. So we had Ridge Holland versus Xavier Woods. This has been going on for several weeks now, even before WrestleMania. Pre-match promo, we had Woods and Kofi cutting a promo. Woods called Sheamus like Thoughty, like a tag team Thoughty or something like that, because he's always jumping around from tag team to tag team. He was in like the bar, the United Nations, or whatever they called that back in the day. Elite, like, whatever. Y'all know what I mean. He's been a bunch of tag teams throughout his time, especially the bar. Now he's Ridge Holland. So he has bounced around a good bit. Now it's just they was calling they call him Shaky Sheamus or Shake It Sheamus, and the crowd actually seemed like that one. They were chanting Shake It Sheamus, so that actually seemed to get that one over in terms of something that the fans could chant. So Xavier Woods, the rightful King Woods, beat Ridge Holland here in a singles match. Right after the match, Sheamus challenged Kofi Kingston, but for a second, he got in Ridge Holland's face. He was like, "Oh, this isn't right. Like, I'll show you how it's done." So a little tease of dissension there to DJ's point. And then he challenged Kofi, and then Sheamus beat Kofi pretty cleanly. Thank you, DJ. It was the League of Nations from way back when that Sheamus was in, and the bar as well. Great tag team with Cesaro. So then Sheamus beat Kofi clean, and then Holland and Sheamus attacked the New Day deal after the match, and then Holland slammed Woods through a table. So they'll face off in a tables match next week. That should be fun. Hopefully that's the blow off. Again, this has been going on since before WrestleMania, from way back when Big E got hurt, very tragically so, or at least unfortunately so. So no, hopefully that's the blow off. Hopefully everyone involved moves on to do something else here. Again, I'm really, it's rare that you'll hear me be glad that a feud is going on and on and on, because more often than not these days, like they don't really keep it interesting. It's singles matches, rematches, tag matches, just kind of over and over again. The angles usually, like, there are exceptions. Obviously, I'm not saying like a blanket statement, but by and large, like I feel WWE struggles to do like long storylines. Well, there are exceptions. Index. Full Circle Index was a great example. To me, they kept it interesting. They kept it winding, and they had twists and turns. There's a payoff, and then they were married, and like the storyline didn't end, but like the clear payoff was the wedding, and then it kind of evolved kind of beyond that. Stephen points out here on the main roster, the Sonya Deville and Naomi feud went on and on and on and on for so long, and the payoff like wasn't that satisfying to begin with. And so I guess like anytime you have a feud kind of even start to kind of drag a little bit, I'm like, oh man, like how long is it going to go? Hopefully next week is well off. Usually stipulation match. The fact that they're doing this on SmackDown and not WrestleMania Backlash leads me to believe that this could well be the blow off, and I think that'd be a good thing. As for who I think should win, I mean, New Day's been on the roll lately, so maybe if they want to book them back up as a tag team for the tag team titles, maybe. But then like I could see people being upset because it feels like they're always kind of in the tag title scene. And what would they do? Face the Usos again? If RK Bro eventually wins the tag titles, unifies them, I mean, that could be pretty interesting to have a New Day and RK Bro potentially. But for now, maybe they build up Ridge Holland and Sheamus a little more. I don't know about that. Should be a good match. Table matches are fun. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Ridge Holland, one of multiple NXT stars or former NXT standouts that is now on SmackDown. Tonight we saw Raquel Rodriguez, formerly known as Raquel Gonzalez here. So I think it was 2 weeks ago or so, she had her debut on SmackDown. She was in a backstage backstage segment. She got the promo. The Lethal Lovers showed up and interacted with her. I think she had like an interaction with Natalya last week as well. This was her first match. It was like something not Catanzaro, obviously, but the name really sounds so similar to Matt Cardona, one of my favorite wrestlers. I kept getting tripped up, and I kept hearing Cardona. Shows where my mind's at. But Raquel had a pre-match promo, and it stood out to me because it was so drastically different from her NXT personality. On NXT, big mommy cool, the legit badass, like women's champion, 2-time tag team champion, powerhouse, always flexing. Like, there's something to be said for that, like a legit badass. She was cool. And here, there's a promo, and then the interviewer was like, "Oh, what are you thinking about your debut tonight?" And she said, "When you look this good, you get used to having all eyes on you. She likes being the center of attention, and she'll make an impact that nobody will forget." And she was smiling a lot. And she previously, I think it was right after her SmackDown debut, she was on Busted Open, I believe, and she talked about how she was told to smile more, which you hear over and over and over again as drilled into people when they get called up. You gotta smile more. Raquel, like she wasn't a big smiler on NXT. Like she was a tough, not tough guy, obviously, a tough powerhouse. Like she was legit. Like you don't need to smile. Like a lot. Now she's like all smiley, happy, kind of like happy-go-lucky. And as for me, as someone who watched NXT her entire run there, I was already watching one by the time she debuted, watched all the time, all the way through the time that she got called up. This is so like counterintuitive to who she was, and I never really like seeing that. Like it just feels, it kind of feels fake, you know. And granted, I know there's usually a disconnect. I understand that they're not assuming everyone that watches SmackDown's watching NXT. I understand. Literally, as we see with Butch, you know, Butch gets called up, Pete Dunne gets called up, and now he's Butch. Totally different character. He just like he's in the Newsies, and now he's Scrappy Doo. You know, with Raquel, you know, it's not like so drastically different. I don't want to make it sound all that bad, but you know, it is in terms of kind of tone and like just kind of general you know, personality more than anything. And obviously they changed their last name is a very small thing. But Steven says, sorry, I thought I said Raquel smiling is really scary. Ronda smiling is really scary as well. That goes to Nash's point. Some people just don't need to smile. I believe Ronda Rousey was like back in January, right after her Rumble return. She had said there were reports that like she was told to smile more as well. I think she talked about it in interviews as well. She was told to smile more. She wasn't smiling when she first came back after the Rumble, and she was told, you gotta smile. And it's like, you don't have to smile. Like, sorry. And life, smiling is great. I recommend everyone, like, we all as people, I would hope that we're all smiling and we're happy and things like that. But like, this is supposedly it's sports entertainment, but it's based in combat. You don't have to always be going around smiling all the time. Like when you do it, like kind of, I hate to say like for no reason, it's kind of like a little weird. Nesha says heels shouldn't smile. I mean, they were very clearly building Raquel as babyface. Like, you know, she's smiling and she's like, seems like kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of thing. Oh, I'm just happy to be here. She's like, one line she said was like, I have butterflies. So they're very clearly trying to have her be like relatable in some ways. So it feels like a very clear babyface thing. But yeah, heels and like, again, legit, you know, tough characters. You don't need to really smile all the time. Not that they should never smile or like never need to smile. Like they smile sometimes when they win a match. Good time to smile. When you do an interview, like just kind of smiling, like, you know, it seems kind of like, I don't know, seems a little silly. But yeah, Nesha, absolutely. Raquel doesn't even just smile as a face here, just like she could just be tough, you know, just be a tough fighter / powerhouse. I'd be happy with that. But onward we go. Still in the women's division here. They announced before the match, 2 weeks from tonight, May 13th. Yes, May 13th on SmackDown. Sasha Banks and Naomi will defend the women's tag team titles against, I'm pretty sure, the last tag team standing in the women's tag team division at this point are the champions, Shayna Baszler and Natalya. They were also in the four-way match at WrestleMania when Banks and Naomi won the titles. So, and I think in that match, they're the last team standing again, other than the champions. And again, so they're pretty much the only other option at this point, which is really not a great look. So tonight we had a match. It was Naomi versus Shayna Baszler. Pretty short match, which is really disappointing. Like Naomi's great, Shayna Baszler's great. I feel like they've really missed the ball. I mixed it up there. They've dropped the ball, kind of missed the boat on her again. We've said this before. When she debuted, got called up back in 2020. It felt like could have been like this next big dominant powerhouse. You know, absolute badass, like unstoppable. Not to compare her to Brock Lesnar, but that kind of like presence in the women's division. And then Becky beat her, and then you know she had a long run in the tag division with Nia Jax, and now she's with Natalya. And so in theory, you have this match with Naomi and Shayna Baszler. It could be a good match. It felt very, very short. It feels like they didn't really do that much in terms of like it felt very, very like just brief. And then Naomi won with pretty much a roll up. And then after the match, Shayna and Natalya attacked Sasha Banks and Naomi. Shayna Baszler. One of my favorite things about her, she has those brutal like stomps to the arm. That's what she's done that the whole time she's been on the main roster. I think she's did that NXT as well. So she put Naomi's arm behind her and like stomped on it. It looks absolutely brutal. Like it looks just like she literally broke her arm. Yeah, DJ says might have broken her arm tonight with that kick from Shayna Baszler there. It seemed like storyline. It looks really bad. She's done it so often though that I think they've probably got the technique down. But overall, I definitely agree. Shayna does not get used right. National points out yet. I mean, they've really not done right by her by and large. And it's a shame. I think she's very, very talented as well. So we'll have this tag title match in 2 weeks. I feel pretty safe in saying there's not going to be a title change. But again, another thing on SmackDown here where I could easily see it dragging out. I mean, you only have one other team here. You've got the champions and Natalia and Shayna Baszler. Like, there's only so much you can really do with that. And just outside of that, in terms of they don't have any other teams, and even like on the SmackDown division, they don't have all that many people. So, other than like Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, like not many people to the point that they could randomly throw them in a tag team. I mean, Xia Li's there. Aaliyah's there, Shotzi's there. We saw Shotzi and Aaliyah tonight. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like they don't have enough depth, to my thinking, that they could just like throw together enough teams to make the division where it needs to be. Steven suggests they could unify the women's titles, and you could like maybe in doing so, you can add some more tag teams to the division there by maybe by having one less title chase. I think that's like a natural consequence. Actually, that would make some sense. So, that's tough. Like I know they used to do with Roman, but like I've always been fine with having 2 women's titles. It's been the case since I got back into it in 2019. So like, that's just the very end of 2018, beginning of 2020. Sorry, beginning of 2019, very end of 2018. It's been that way. So that's like what I've gotten used to. And to me, like, I guess as a counterpoint, if you have 2 titles, in theory, you're utilizing more women in that way. I think that's a good thing, because then if you have 1 title, like, I don't necessarily trust that they will do like non-title feuds as much. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, but I just feel like that's what we've kind of seen so far. DJ, this has been the kind of part of the narrative here for weeks now. Well, what was supposed to be the tag title unification match, DJ says, just get rid of the brand split altogether. They've definitely softened it. It's definitely kind of like, less strict than it used to be. They've got the Bloodline will be on Raw this week. So, again, people jumping between brands for a reason. You've got, now we've got the 6-man for WrestleMania Backlash. Monday's the go-home show for that. So that makes sense. I think I may have been John or maybe Robert and I were talking about this. Like, I do think that there's something we said. Like, when I watch a WWE show, it'd be great to know I could see all the top stars, Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks, Becky, Randy Orton, whoever it might be, on any given night, rather than, I've got to watch Raw for Randy Orton, I've got to watch SmackDown for Roman Reigns previously before you unify the titles. There's something to be said for that. Networks and politics kind of get in the way of like, the networks want their own stars. I feel like that's been a thing up to this point. And it feels like, again, that's kind of changing a little bit. I don't know if they're going to abolish it completely, but we'll wait and see how it plays out. National points out unifying the women's titles makes most of the belts. I mean, yeah, because I will say, as a counterpoint to myself, sometimes with the 2 singles titles, like, you get kind of like throwaway feuds, like just to have a feud for the title. Whereas like if you have 1 title, then that's the title. Like then you've got to have, in theory, a more meaningful feud for it. So there is something said for that as well. And then, as we were saying a minute ago, then you have maybe teams kind of some of the superstars more inclined to challenge for the tag titles, because that's another way they can win a title. As a sidebar, DJ says, The Miz announced the Cleveland Browns top draft pick at the NFL draft tonight. I believe Titus O'Neil announced the Buccaneers pick as well, and I believe Gable Steveson, WWE Raw superstar, announced the Minnesota Vikings pick, because he went to University of Minnesota. So, WWE repping at the draft, pretty cool. I mean, I think millions of people watch the draft, so that's pretty big, visibility for WWE there. Not that they didn't necessarily need it. It's more of just a cool, like, outside of WWE world crossover there in that sense. So cool little tidbit there. Cool for the Miz to do that, for Titus to be involved like that. And he's huge in Tampa doing with all the great community work he does. Gable Steveson, I mean, obviously they love him over in Minnesota for being a national champion and being an Olympic gold medalist. So he's doing great things. So cool to see WWE people doing things outside of WWE like that. Otherwise here, folks, we had a brief Gunther vignette with Ludwig Kaiser. This felt like it was right out of the 80s. It was very old school. They were talking over this, like, it was kind of they had a special effect on it, like a montage, I guess, of Gunther's dominant wins over local talent so far. I also should mention Raquel Rodriguez also defeated her opponent, like a local opponent, again, I don't remember her name, but Gunther had a vignette tonight of his similar squash matches. Not much to it. I'm waiting to see kind of what happens with Gunther. Like, what's the plan with him? Do they have a plan for him other than squash matches? Because he's an absolute powerhouse. He is a tank. He's awesome. Power bombs and chops and everything. Like, I really liked him on NXT, and I want him to succeed on SmackDown. But like squash matches and stuff, there's something said for him. You look dominant. You have a good showing, especially Walter and Raquel as well. They're both like impressive inherently. So you see Walter powerbombing a guy. Raquel also has powerbomb. There's something said for that. But like as a viewer, I'm not all that interested. It's like a squash match. They're gonna win. So that's inherently like, okay, like, yeah, you look impressive. You cool. Like, but especially once you start doing it like several times, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? What are we going, what we're going to do next? DJ points out this was not a live show. It was taped last week because they're overseas right now. Bobby Lashley took a scary fall. If you haven't seen it, he fell through the ropes and it looked awful. It looked very, very scary. He fell through the ropes when he was facing Drew McIntyre. So, thankfully he's okay. It looked really bad. But yeah, they've been overseas this week. So this was a tape show. So worth pointing out that maybe this wasn't their A game. They taped this after SmackDown last week. Maybe that's why they piped in some crowd noise, because the crowd would have been a little burnt out anyway. Beyond the Mat points out that Gunther worked a 17-minute match with Mansoor last Saturday at a house show. It's interesting. We've never seen Veer and some other big guys work that way. Gunther is legitimately like an awesome wrestler. Like, they love that. If you watch the NXT run, admittedly, I get to see all that much of it. Nash points out he's 800 days as NXT UK champion. Anytime he was on like NXT takeovers defending the title, or when he did a couple matches on NXT, and then he had a brief run on NXT, but before he got called up, every single time, like if he gets time to go, he is very, very impressive, and he's impressive even in a squash match. But like he can go, like he can have an actual match, and do something, like not just have like squash matches. You can be competitive and have a good match. Like, let the guy wrestle. I think that they'd be pleasantly surprised. So Beyond Matt says he thinks Gunther's going to get some meal action because he can actually do it. I mean, you would hope someone as talented as that would get a chance to do so. But again, increasingly these days, like especially after today, like Dexter Lumis gets cut, like all these things, like, man, just like you worry. It's like it makes it hard to really like. It sounds really, really like pessimistic, but it's like it's hard to really, really feel like all that whole focus. Like anybody at any given time these days, their number could be next, and that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. But that is where we are now. Like anybody, like you never know. You never know who it could be. So hopefully. I'm not saying about Gunther. I'm just saying, like, I'm invested in him as a performer, and I want him to do well. Not just as, hey, book him against Roman. I mean, if this goes well, if he's handled well, if he's booked correctly, that'd be awesome. That'd be a like battle for the ages. I would like to see that. Beyond the Mat says, yeah, Gunther can actually go, so he should have a future. He should. He's got a great look. He's slimmed down supposedly because they want him to. But he's still very impressive. He's a big guy, so he's got the tools, and I'm very hopeful for him. But speaking of NXT people, Steven points out LA Knight is a manager now, and at the very least, he's so good on the mic that like I justify it in that sense. But he's putting together kind of a crew at the SmackDown Dark matches. He's recruited Mace, who they renamed Face, I believe, and now DJ points out they've got Mansoor in there as well. Will this make it to TV? We'll see. It has not yet. If you watch the NXT show, I'm a big fan of LA Knight. I think he's just got so much charisma. He's like one of the best guys on the mic they've got. He's just so natural. Guy looks like $1 million, and like it makes sense to in some ways it makes sense to have him as the manager because he's got like that like movie star like actual like star look. Like he looks $1 million. I don't even know how to say it. So like I know people were upset with him being changed to a manager supposedly. It seems like that has happened now. I would rather see him headlining shows, being in the main event, having the chance to succeed in that sense because he's a wrestler. But he's good enough. It's so good on the mic that I think he can make this work. If it's good creative, if it's done right, we'll see. So again, we'll wait and see if that makes it to TV. But I mean, I will say it's encouraging to see some of the NXT people either being on SmackDown or getting a chance to be on the dark match, and then maybe on SmackDown beyond that. Beyond the Mount points out, yeah, RK Bro and Reigns versus RK Bro and Drew versus Reigns and Usos. They've been doing the house show main events. They've been doing dark matches. Like, yeah, that's like, you know, that makes sense. They kind of do that. And like, I'm okay with that in the sense like it's not televised, so we don't see it all the time. Sorry, beyond that means it's been both like a house shows and a dark match. I mean, yeah, and that makes sense. Like all the top stars, if not wrestling on TV that night, it makes sense. If it's a live event, it makes sense. They've also been doing Reigns versus McIntyre at a lot of live events as well. So, and I agree, it is kind of a cop out for a pay per view. Like if it's assuming it's the main event, like yeah, it is a little weird like that. But WWE's going to WWE. I'm trying to get better at looking at it that way. Like they're going to do what they're going to do. When they release people that I like, that's when I get upset. But even then, like I try not to get too upset about it. Like upset enough. It sucks. And I was really upset like earlier, but like, you know, if you get to the point where you're just like constantly letting it drag on you, like, you know, I kind of got beyond that point. Probably like the first wave of releases last year, I was like, all right, like this is just, and then it kept happening. I'm like, I gotta kind of compartmentalize and then move on and whatever. But last thing here tonight, because it was so quick, we can just kind of, you know, breeze over it. They had the I Quit challenge. It was Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair. They will be facing an I Quit match at WrestleMania Backlash again a week from Sunday for the SmackDown Women's title. This was pretty. I don't know. There was no points. There were no stakes. If they told me there was some kind of like. I don't know. The winner gets to do X. I don't know what that would have been. If they did this like, and then maybe it wouldn't make sense. But like the winner got to pick the stipulation or something. Like, I don't know. The beat the clock challenges work better when there's stakes. When it's like they get to pick a stipulation, or you know, in NXT they would have like the War Games ladder match, War Games Advantage ladder match. Like when they have a reason for a match like that, like stakes are attached to it. Cool. This was like for pride, for momentum, which like it makes sense, but like it's fine. So they announced this last week. Then tonight they announced it would be Ronda versus Shotzi and Charlotte versus Aaliyah. And then the show keeps going on. It's 9:00 Eastern time. It's 9:30 Eastern time. I'm like 25 minutes left in the show, and still not that. And then we had like the Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods back to back matches. You know, I'm like, and then I think that they didn't have Ronda come out till like the last 15 minutes. I'm like, oh, these are going to be absolute squash matches. My gosh. And they were. Ronda made Shotzi say I quit in 1 minute and 41 seconds, roughly, I believe. Not the best look for Shotzi. I think they've merely kind of misused her throughout her time on SmackDown here, which is definitely a shame. And then Charlotte versus Aaliyah. They were trying to build Aaliyah for a little bit in that feud with Natalya. That kind of fell by the wayside. But then Charlotte gets booked like the biggest jabroni. Like every time she's in something like this, like she always gets like pushed to the outside, or she gets distracted by being too cocky, or like whatever. I just it's like she's so just like it's almost like cartoonish. She's like, oh, like Ronda was being such like, oh, I'm distracted by Ronda, or like whatever. And she was like, in the ring, she could have locked in the figure eight and made Aaliyah tap out. And she was kind of like looking at Ronda, and then Aaliyah like countered, and then the clock ticked down, and she locked in figure eight, and Aaliyah did not say I quit. So Ronda won the challenge. Again, no reason, no result or consequence of that other than, oh, she can make her say I quit faster. It doesn't matter who can say I quit faster, or who can make the opponent say I quit faster. At WrestleMania Backlash, all that matters is who says I quit. Like, whatever. It's fine. I thought like not the best show closing angle. And then Drew Gulak, who has gone from interviewer to like Adam Pearce's assistant of sorts, got attacked by Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey previously. Tonight he was the timekeeper. They got my man ringing the bell tonight. I'm like, all respect to timekeepers. They're the unsung heroes. They ring the bell. Drew Gulak, like, come on, man. Like, they got this man ringing the bell. And like, cool. He gets to be on TV. So he was ringing the bell for this I Quit. I think it was the timekeeper like for most of the show, at the very least for the I Quit challenge here. And then Charlotte was very upset after she lost, and she just attacked him. She would have hit him with a ring bell, and then she posed in the show. As she says, "Poor Drew." Yeah. Like, is this supposed to be like interesting? Like, Drew was never on TV anyway. It's not like he's someone that they really gave us any reason to care about as a character. As a person, seems like a great guy. And previously on 205 Live, and he's been pushed before, but for the past several months, he's been like doing nothing at all. And then suddenly he's brought on as like interviewer / jack of all trades, I guess. And that's just, there's got to be a reason for it. I mean, we would hope so. I love when there's reasons for things. Like, reasons are good. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I don't like this feud to begin with. I wasn't feeling it on the road to WrestleMania. I wasn't thrilled with the idea of having the rematch, even though that was clear where they were going. Now we're going to get the rematch. It'll be an I Quit match. Hopefully that'll be it. But I feel like they're going to do Hell in a Cell just because they can help themselves. So we're going to get another month of this. And that's my prediction at this point. And I'm not looking forward to that because they've already resorted to dragging Drew Gulak into this to try and make it more entertaining, I guess. I like this idea from Nesha. If they can like kind of have it play out where Drew takes Sonya Deville's place as the authority figure or the assistant or like deputy authority figure, like that'd be interesting. Maybe he's like paying his dues, if you will, and taking his licks, I guess. I don't know. At least that'd be like something, an outcome, a consequence. I like when things make sense, folks. More often than not, that's really all I ask for. Make it make sense, and like at least like if you give me that, we're going to be okay. For it to be good, like higher bar, but to be okay, just makes sense and have consequences. So hoping for that. But overall, all things considered tonight, thoughts on SmackDown scale 1 to 10. Was it like an offensively bad show? No. I was definitely kind of like bummed overall by the releases and things, and like anytime that happens, it kind of weighs on me a little bit, especially when people that I like I'm a fan of get released. So it makes it hard to really like be in the mood and like to really like get into the wrestling, get into the show as much as maybe otherwise. I wasn't like as against the show as has happened other times. Like there have been rounds releases where I am just not feeling it at all. This time I was like, more so indifferent than anything, and that's maybe just the fact that it's happened so often where that my reaction in the first place is kind of softened a little bit, and that sounds bad, but again, that's how we stay sane here. Now just says she's given the show a 7. I think that's fair. I think I gave like Raw like a 6.8 or so. I'll go for like a 6.7. It's fine. Maybe that's probably too high, honestly. Wasn't a bad show. Wasn't good. I don't love the idea of doing the 6-man for WrestleMania Backlash. I think again you take away like a match where I should say I didn't mention it earlier. DJ was a 6.25 for Saturday night. Again, not awful, just not good either. But like I saw this going on Twitter. Like WWE doesn't seem to really like. I hate to say they don't care, but like they don't really seem to make a lot of decisions with the weekly hardcore viewer in mind. Like someone that's watching a show every single week, that's invested in the story, that's like trying to follow along. Like a lot of times they're booking for casual fans or people to follow the show on YouTube and then tune in for the premium events. Like they don't really care about like how the optics of like you're building this match for weeks, the title unification match for the tag teams, I should say, and then you just quickly turn it around and then you do 6-man. It's like you've been building this up for several weeks now, and then you turn it around. They've got now the Bloodline will be on Raw, so at least they've got call it 2 shows to build that the 6-man for WrestleMania Backlash. Like whereas they already had several weeks for the title unification match. Like boy, oh boy, Nesha says a lot of decisions don't make sense. Unfortunately, they don't. We got. Beyond the Mat said earlier, so it applies now. Got to keep expectations low and gratitude high with WWE. We try to be grateful. We try to be positive as best we can. Sometimes, my friends, it's hard. Mark Buckingham gives the show a 4.5. Pretty rough. Again, my instinct was like a 6.7. That's probably too high. Like I wasn't sitting there like, yeah, this is a good show. That was fine. Upon like in hindsight, probably closer to a 6, but onward we go. So as I said, John, my co-host for Raw NXT, is recovering from appendix surgery, so he'll be out next week as well. So again, shout out to John. Hope he recovers ASAP. Hope he's feeling all right. Surgery sucks, but hopefully he's feeling better as soon as possible, and he'll be able to rejoin us hopefully the week after next week. But otherwise, schedule permitting, we should be good to go for next week as well. Hopefully I'll be joined by Robert, but if not, I plan on being here, so you can look forward to me being here on Monday for Raw, and then Tuesday for NXT 2.0. That'll be the spring break-in special. I'll also be here on Friday for the SmackDown post show, and it's a Sunday, so I do plan on doing the WrestleMania Backlash post show as well. That one I'm not sure about John quite yet. He said he would be out for Monday and Tuesday, so we'll see how he's feeling. But either way. Never a shortage of content here. We do our best to give you guys content to entertain you guys, to just to come together and unite over our shared love of wrestling. That's what we do. That's what it's all about. Even like today, or when there's releases, or the shows aren't. The content, like the show itself, is inherently good. We try to come together and talk about it and process it and just whatever, that's what we do. Whether it's the Raw show, the NXT show, SmackDown show, the two Diamond Dudes on the Rampage, Mark and Dom, to cover all things AEW. I highly recommend checking them out. Otherwise, a great stream of interviews constantly coming to you guys, whether it's Bill Pritchard recently interviewing Speedball Mike Bailey, Tasha Steelz, more people than I can give you a name. He interviewed Moose recently, the former Impact World Champion Moose. I know I just listed everyone from Impact. I'm trying to remember some others, but it's all in the archives. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, all the good stuff. And all that, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in. It means a lot. I appreciate you all so very much. Thank you for listening, because we're coming together to escape the scary world outside. We're coming together to enjoy the very niche world of pro wrestling, and to do one thing above all others, and that is to enjoy wrestling. Thanks for listening, everybody.